My husband's family tried to sabotage our wedding, but my maid of honor had the last laugh. I, 29, female, have been with my husband, Mark, 30, male, for 5 wonderful years. We met in college, fell in love, and got engaged last year. We were so excited to start our lives together, but little did I know, our journey to the altar would be a gauntlet of sabotage and passive aggression, primarily orchestrated by Mark's older sister, Brenda, 35, female, and enabled by his parents. From the moment we announced our engagement, Brenda made it clear she was not thrilled. She had always been the golden child, the first to marry, and in her eyes, I was simply not good enough for her brother. Her wedding, 5 years prior, was a lavish affair, funded almost entirely by her parents, and she often brought it up, subtly implying ours would never measure up. Mark, bless his heart, always tried to smooth things over, but even he had to admit Brenda's comments were becoming increasingly pointed. The first major incident happened when we started planning the guest list. Mark's family is quite large, and his parents insisted on inviting every single distant relative, many of whom Mark hadn't seen in years. This wasn't an issue in itself, but Brenda began pressuring us to cut several of my friends and even some of my extended family members to make room for her social acquaintances. Her justification was always, well, they're family, and your friends can see you another time. Besides, my wedding had over 300 guests, and it was perfect. I tried to explain that we had a budget and a venue capacity, but she wouldn't back down. Mark, for the first time, had to firmly tell her no. This created a visible rift, and she spent the next few family dinners sulking and making snide remarks about our lack of appreciation for family. Then came the dress. I found a beautiful, classic A-line gown that made me feel like a princess. It wasn't overly expensive, but it was perfect for me. When I showed Brenda a picture, her response was a dismissive wave of her hand. Oh, that's nice. Very simple. You know, my dress was custom made in Italy. Real silk. But, you know, not everyone can afford that. She then proceeded to show me photos of her own wedding dress for the 10th time, pointing out the intricate lacework and designer details. I just smiled and nodded, refusing to let her dim my excitement. The cake tasting was another memorable disaster. Mark's parents insisted on coming along, which I thought was sweet at first. However, Brenda also showed up, uninvited, with her 2 children in tow, who proceeded to run wild around the bakery. Brenda then took over the entire tasting, declaring almost every flavor too common or not elegant enough compared to her wedding cake. She even brought a photo of her own 4-tiered masterpiece and kept comparing everything to it. We ended up having to politely ask her to leave after she loudly declared that our chosen flavor, lemon raspberry, was childish. Mark was mortified, and his parents just sat there, silently allowing Brenda to run roughshod over our plans. It was then that I realized their enabling was as much a part of the problem as Brenda's overt hostility. My maid of honor, Sarah, 29, female, had been a rock throughout all of this. She's been my best friend since kindergarten, and she knows me better than anyone. She saw what Brenda was doing and was furious on my behalf. Sarah, being a no-nonsense kind of person, often had to restrain herself from lashing out at Brenda, but her silent glares often spoke volumes. She was the one who encouraged me to stand my ground and reminded me that this was our wedding, not Brenda's second chance. As the wedding date drew closer, the incidents escalated. Brenda began accidentally forgetting to include me in family discussions about the wedding, or misplacing important invitations for my side of the family. She would offer helpful suggestions that were clearly designed to create more work or stress, like insisting we change our floral arrangements at the last minute because they clash with the venue's existing decor, a decor she had no input on. Each time, Mark had to intervene, which led to increasingly tense arguments between him and his sister. His parents, still seemingly blind to Brenda's malicious intent, would always side with her, saying things like, "Brenda just wants what's best for you both," or "She's just trying to help, dear." The week of the wedding was pure chaos. We had a rehearsal dinner planned for Friday, with the wedding on Saturday. On Thursday, I got a call from the catering company. informing me that the menu for the rehearsal dinner had been changed. Suddenly, all the vegetarian options I had carefully selected for my family and friends were gone, replaced with an all-meat menu. The person on the phone said, "A Brenda Smith called and said she was the bride's sister-in-law and had approval from the groom's mother to make the changes." I was livid. Mark immediately called his mother, who, after some prodding, admitted that Brenda had convinced her it would be easier for the caterers if they just stuck to one menu. Mark put his foot down and demanded they revert to the original menu, but not without a significant amount of stress and a hefty rush change fee. Brenda, of course, feigned innocence. "Oh, darling, I was just trying to help. You seemed so overwhelmed. And honestly, who even eats vegetarian at a rehearsal dinner?" Her tone was sickeningly sweet, but her eyes held a triumphant glint. The morning of the wedding, things took an even more bizarre turn. As I was getting my hair and makeup done with my bridesmaids, Sarah received a frantic call from the wedding planner. Apparently, Brenda had shown up at the venue that morning, attempting to move all of the floral arrangements we had chosen and replace them with ones she had ordered from a different florist. Her argument was that the original flowers were completely wrong for the aesthetic, and that she knew what was best for her brother's big day. The wedding planner, a saint of a woman, thankfully called us immediately. Mark had to be called, and he, still in his pre-wedding jitters, had to leave the groomsmen's suite and physically go to the venue to tell his sister to back off. It was humiliating and infuriating. His parents, when called, once again tried to downplay it, saying Brenda was just enthusiastic. But the real showstopper came during the ceremony itself. We had chosen an outdoor venue with a beautiful archway decorated with white roses and eucalyptus. As I was about to walk down the aisle, guided by my father, I noticed something was amiss. The archway looked different. Instead of our elegant white roses, there were gaudy, bright pink plastic flowers, and a banner that read, "Brenda and Robert, always and forever." It was a crude, obvious attempt to hijack our ceremony and turn it into a tribute to her marriage that I froze. My father looked at me, bewildered. The guests started to murmur. Mark, standing at the altar, looked utterly confused, and then, as he registered what he was seeing, his face hardened with a mixture of anger and disbelief. Before anyone could truly react, Sarah, who had been standing by my side, took charge. Without missing a beat, she marched directly up to the archway. Brenda, who was sitting in the front row with a smug grin on her face, probably expecting a tearful breakdown from me, suddenly looked surprised. Sarah, with a strength I didn't know she possessed, ripped down the banner with one powerful yank. Then, with a furious glare at Brenda, she began tearing down the plastic flowers, tossing them aside with gusto. "Are you serious, Brenda?" Sarah's voice, though low, carried through the hushed silence of the guests. "Are you really this pathetic? This is their day, not yours. Get a grip." Brenda's smug grin vanished, replaced by a look of pure shock and indignation. Mark's parents gasped, finally realizing the extent of their daughter's maliciousness. Other guests were now openly staring at Brenda. Mark, seeing Sarah take action, quickly came over to the archway and, with the help of a few groomsmen, began to remove the remaining plastic abominations. Our wedding planner, who was also horrified, rushed over with a small emergency kit and, with incredible speed, started reattaching some of our original roses that had been slightly displaced. It was a scramble, but within minutes, the archway, while not perfectly restored, was presentable again. As Sarah finished her impromptu cleanup, she turned to Brenda, who was now bright red and sputtering, surrounded by her equally mortified husband and children. "You know, Brenda," Sarah said, her voice dripping with disdain, "some people actually have enough self-esteem to not need to constantly make everything about themselves. Try it sometime. It might make you less miserable." The words hung in the air. Brenda, for once, was speechless. Mark's parents were utterly mortified, finally seeing their daughter for what she was, not just enthusiastic, but actively trying to ruin our wedding. With the archway restored and Brenda effectively silenced, my father gently squeezed my hand. "Ready, sweetheart," he whispered. I took a deep breath, looked at Mark, who was now beaming at me, and nodded that I walked down the aisle, a little shaken but also incredibly proud. Proud of Mark for finally standing up to his sister, and incredibly proud of Sarah for being the unwavering, fierce friend she always is. The ceremony proceeded beautifully, albeit with a slight delay. Brenda and her family left shortly after the ceremony and did not attend the reception. Mark's parents, however, stayed. They approached me and Mark during the cocktail hour, both looking genuinely ashamed. His mother, with tears in her eyes, apologized profusely for enabling Brenda all these years. His father admitted they had been wrong to dismiss our concerns and promised to have a serious talk with Brenda. It was a long overdue acknowledgement, but it was a start. The reception was fantastic. Sarah was lauded as a hero, and people kept coming up to us, expressing their shock at Brenda's behavior and their admiration for Sarah's quick thinking. We danced, we celebrated, and we were finally, officially married. Since the wedding, things have been different. Mark had a very frank conversation with his parents, explaining the depth of Brenda's sabotage and how their enabling had hurt him and me. They, in turn, had a massive confrontation with Brenda. She, of course, tried to deny everything, claiming she was just trying to help, but the evidence was overwhelming. Mark's parents finally put their foot down. They told her that until she genuinely apologized to us and acknowledged her behavior, they would not be supporting her financially as they had for years, nor would they be attending family gatherings where she was present. Brenda was furious, but for the first time, her parents didn't back down. The rift is still there, and Brenda has not apologized, but Mark and I have found a new sense of peace. His parents are now genuinely supportive of us and have even started spending more time with my family, trying to make amends for their past behavior. As for Sarah, she received a truly epic thank you gift, a custom-made necklace with a small, elegant rose pendant, a nod to the flowers she bravely defended. She just laughs about it now, saying, "Someone had to do something, and you look too pretty to get your hands dirty." I guess some people will always try to dim your light, but if you have friends like Sarah and a husband like Mark, you can shine through anything. We are now happily married, and while family drama will probably always exist, we are building our own little world, free from the constant shadow of Brenda's envy and resentment. And honestly, it feels amazing.